We have Rob Kaplan, founder and CEO of Circulate Capital, and Haryanto Chiptoji-Hardo, I'm going to say that wrong, I'm so sorry, President Director, Impact Pratama Industri. Joining us with, the moderator for this session will be Stephanie Choi, who wanted to be here in person, couldn't be here today, but she's recorded this for us quite gracefully. So she's a sustainable and impact investing strategist from the CIO office in wealth management. So let's kick off with that discussion.
Welcome to this deep dive on the circular economy. First, what is the circular economy? We all grew up with the mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle. We want to reduce the amount of raw materials that we extract, virgin materials from the earth. We want to reuse our products to extend its product life instead of dumping it at the end of its life cycle. And we want to recycle and take back as much of the materials and environmental resources as we can instead of dumping into the earth. Current consumption patterns actually require the environmental resources of 2.3 planets. So clearly it's not sustainable. But at the same time, given that we all grew up with reduce, reuse, recycle, why are we still producing more waste and not less? And why is UBS CIO suddenly launching this high conviction theme at this point in time? Well, we actually think that 4 key drivers mean that this time would be different. And really, it's about companies being held to a higher ideal and expected to address these issues at scale instead of only relying on individual consumers. So how these 4 drivers pan out in real life? First one is regulations. Regulators are getting increasingly specific and expecting companies to embed better design or recycling options to make it easier for consumers to reduce, reuse, and recycle. For example, the EU is actually changing laws around cable design and the right to repair consumer electronics goods. Second thing is that consumers are actually demanding the companies to do better, and they're saying that they're willing to pay up to 35% premium for more sustainable products. Thirdly, with commodity prices where they are, the cost incentive to recycle and try an alternative options have never been stronger. And finally, technological innovations are at the cusp of commercialization, making all of this much more possible. So to explore this topic further today, we are honored to have 2 speakers with us who are really at the front edge of leading this movement in Asia. First, we have Pak Haryanto. He's the President Director of PT Impack, which is a leading building materials company in Indonesia that has embedded circularity principles across their design and manufacturing processes. PT Impack is recognized by Forbes as Indonesia's best of the best companies in 2022. We also have Rob Kaplan, founder and CEO of Circulate Capital. And this is Asia's only dedicated venture capital firm investing in the circular economy today. Their backers include the likes of PepsiCo, Procter & Gamble, Dow, Coca-Cola, Chevron Phillips. So very illustrious background and really putting the money to work here in our region. So thank you so much for joining us today, Pak Haryanto and Rob. So
thank you.
I guess, the first big thing is really to both of you, I guess, the big picture. Why is circular economy so important to you and your work? Maybe we'll start with Rob.
Sure. And thank you so much for having me. For me personally, throughout my career, I've always looked for opportunities where I can make the most impact and where I can be tangible. And there's nothing more tangible and impactful, I believe, than the circular economy. I've worked across many sectors and industries and opportunities. But one thing that's great about waste and recycling in the circular economy is that we're taking things that cost a lot of money to manage, they're a cost center, and turning them into a profit center. So instead of losing money, we're making money. And that's a key element of how I think the circular economy works and why I'm so passionate about making the business case and investment case to deploy capital into that sector. It also has a real critical role to play in fighting climate change. The energy transition will not be enough to save the climate. And the research shows that the circular economy has the power to shrink GHG emissions by nearly 40%. And that's an important part of how we will achieve solving climate change.
Great. And Pak Haryanto, on to you, please. Why circular economy?
Okay, thank you very much, Stephanie. Impact Pratama as a polymer-based building material manufacturer, of course, we understood and we are aware that we have to play an important role here to the circular economy. And just imagine this, building materials are the biggest contributor of single material usage for human consumption. Basically, things like concrete, steel, glasses, metals, ceramics, they contributed around 18 billion tons annually. So just imagine this, if we can replace only 1% of the consumptions in building materials into using PCR, post-consumer recycle plastic, that means 180 million tons of material that we can recycle and reuse into the building material segment. I do believe that Impact Pratama is in a unique position because we are in the non-traditional building material producer. We are not making steel, we are not making glass, we are making from polymer base, but it's replacing the traditional material that we commonly see. So it's great challenges ahead, but I'm very committed that Impact Pratama will play a crucial role in doing the upstream to downstream management of the post-consumer recycle. And I strongly see that we have to lead and we have to show an example so that the building material company, especially in the plastic polymer-based products, will see this opportunity and also will take the steps to follow our directions.
Thanks. So I think, so if we tie in together, so Rob, you highlighted that, this is really kind of the nexus of impact as well as profitable commercial opportunity. And for Pak Haryanto, you also highlighted that your company actually happens to be in a natural, like replacement cycle to kind of more polluting alternatives. So when you, I guess if we dive into this question further on how do you spot win-win opportunities, Pak Haryanto, can we kind of go through the key challenges that you've faced when you're integrating circularity in your business model, and how do you balance this with the profit opportunity?
Okay. I'm saying this because I'm looking from the Indonesia countryside. I'm not talking in general in other parts of the world, because that's where we are currently focusing. The main challenge that we are focusing here is, first of all, is the collection system, the informal scavengers, what we call it in Indonesia. Those people are collecting, sorting the garbage, and then they are sorting the plastic, and then they're washing it and all that. It is very inefficient, and it is very disorganized, and garbage are really out of the lowest quality that is available. So we have to face the challenges of cleaning that up, sorting that up, chopping it into usable products. And then you still have to manufacture those recycle into something useful. You cannot just collect them, clean them, and just keep them in the warehouse. You have to make use to making it into a usable products. That's where we come into play. We convert them into roofing materials that maybe last 5, 7, 10 years. That means we are giving longevity to the product, instead of one-time use where you throw the water bottles after you consume the water. Basically, we prolong the life, and it gave us time to do more while it is being used as a building material. So that is one of the challenges. The second one is the consumer in Indonesia doesn't really care yet that if it is made of PCR or recycle. Even I think in their mindset is still, if you are using too much recycle, that means your product is inferior and you should be selling it cheaper. And that is the challenge that we have to educate and teach the people that climate change is here for good. And if you don't do something about it, we have to pay a very expensive price in the future. But it's a long-term process, Stephanie. But if no one is doing it, then I guess, no one will. So we have to start somehow.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing the things that you do and really educating the market. And I guess that is another issue about being here in Asia, because I mentioned at the start that we see these big secular drivers, but I guess at least from the regulatory and the consumer, so really the macro perspective in Asia, we're in many ways kind of behind. But Rob, do you think that this affects the investability or the momentum behind the motion in Asia? And does this make investing in circular economy different from other aspects in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think those drivers are pretty spot on. I mean, they are really key things that we look at in any investment opportunity. The reality is that there's no silver bullet or magic wand, and that when you're really developing circular economy investment opportunities in companies, you're working within a system, and it's a system challenge that requires system solutions. So you do need to see activity across all four of those areas that you talked about. For us in the work that we're doing, obviously the commodity price driver is a really important one. At the end of the day, you're working in a commodity business, and it's all about value addition. And where can you really tap into higher margin businesses rather than competing in the lowest common denominator? And we do see a big shift happening over the last couple of years in terms of regulation on plastic pollution across South and Southeast Asia. We've seen it in India, where there are plastic waste management rules that have been created to require recycled content, similar to models that we've seen in the West. And that's driven a lot of activity and demand for increased quality of recycled material and PCR, as Pak Haryanto talked about. And the trend is expected to accelerate. We not only are seeing that from the government, but while we haven't seen a huge lift from consumer demand in a lot of the recycled plastic, we have seen the consumer brands driving an important role here, where they've set ambitious sustainability targets. They have need for high quality recycled plastics to make their packaging in order to meet that regulatory demand and that growing consumer demand. So for all those things coming together, it really is making it an interesting opportunity set across the region.
Yeah, and so this leads us to an interesting kind of nexus, right? Because we talk about these big companies having demand for relative solutions, but are these solutions going to look more like moonshots, like new plastics, or is it going to be the kind of workhorses, companies that are just transforming business as usual?
Yeah, it's going to be both. There is no, as I was saying, there's no silver bullet, there's no magic wand. A lot of the research has been pretty clear. As you look at trying to drive plastic circularity, maybe half of the solution is going to come from those workhorses that we know and love, the recycling companies that are using proven technology that have been operating around the world, that can collect, sort, process, and manufacture products like what Pak Haryanto is doing. But then there's another part of the solution as well, maybe another half of the solution that will be alternatives or innovative materials that would reduce the need for virgin-based or extractive-based polymers. And so for us, we see it's important to invest in both upstream solutions like innovative materials and downstream solutions. That's where we have our Asia recycling supply chain strategy, where we're working with best-in-class waste management and recycling companies across the region, but also investing in innovation globally for innovative materials and advanced recycling technologies that are being developed and proven out, and that we can help transfer to this part of the world and really accelerate that transition.
That's great. Super interesting. And I think today we've already established a lot of the positive environmental impact that can be brought about by integrating circularity into businesses and portfolios. But Pak Haryanto, when we look at a case study like PT Impact, it's very clear from your reports that environmental action is not your only care. So how can you share with us, the positive social impact that you have already witnessed, and how does this contribute to your sustainability journey at PT Impact?
Yes, thank you very much, Stephanie. We believe that social impact is part of the circularity in our company. One of our most successful product is the solar dry dome. It's a dome that we call the program is harvesting the power of the sun. This is in collaboration with Covestro company and also the Silpakorn University from Thailand. Basically, this is a 100% carbon neutral dryer that we use to dry the post-harvest for the underserved farmers. Basically, the intention is to improve the hygiene and the quality of the product that is been dried, and also the time to dry the harvest. Basically, it's half the time that normally they use traditionally. And the great thing is that you are only using the power from the sun. So you are not taking any carbon with it to do that. And this dedication has been done for probably the most good 5-6 years ago. And until today, we have seen 360,000 lives has been impacted in all of ASEAN countries. So basically, we feel that by selling our products, the polycarbonate twin wall as the dome cover, it gives us profit, but at the same time, it has significant impact on the good side of doing the business. Our motto last year that we created along with our 40th anniversary of our company is doing well by doing good. Basically, it means that it's always easy to do good things, but if you don't make profit out of it, it won't sustain. What I mentioned here is basically as my closing remark is doing the right thing. I guess is never easy, but nevertheless, I think it is still the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So I guess, Rob, as an investor in this space, how do you think of these kind of direct as well as indirect impacts across the board? Is this consistent with what you are seeing in other opportunities in Asia? And are there other, what is your most exciting focus area for both financial and social impact?
Yeah. Well, as investors, we're focused on the space because we think we can make money doing it. It's a pretty underinvested sector. There's a lot of capital needed to create the impact and the financial returns that we're looking to see. But across the board, we're seeing pretty exciting companies that, because they're underinvested, they've been operating for some time, but really organically, and have developed solid business models. Much of the most exciting opportunities that we see across the region are growth strategies, companies that have been profitable for some time, but never taken on outside capital. And they're now primed, given all of the drivers that we just talked about, to go from one historical legacy plant to a new modern plant to also plants 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's a really exciting time to be an investor when you can see that line of sight to growth. But for us, we're focused on a few key areas. We're looking at disruptive innovation, products that are designed to use recycled plastic or made from those innovative materials that can be recycled or even composted. We're focused on increasing collection and sorting so that we can stop that leakage to the environment and collect this material that should have value so that companies like PT Impact can recycle it. And then we're also looking at upcycling technologies and companies that can, once you collect that material, turn into something of greater value. And then across that entire value chain of design and production to collection and then processing and remanufacturing, there's an important need for digitization traceability, transparency, and there's some really exciting innovation opportunities that are applying big data, deep technologies, and artificial intelligence to map that value chain and make it as efficient as possible. But what we've also seen is going to take significant capital, much more than, for example, our fund's $150 million. It's going to take many billions of dollars to solve this problem. And that's why we spend a lot of time bringing other investors along with us and catalyzing that capital to demonstrate that this sector is investable and exciting, but then to also help other investors get that experience and join us in this journey.
Thank you so much. So I'm really excited and encouraged by this session today, because I think we have quite clearly illustrated that not only can reduce, reuse, recycle, circularity be embedded in our daily habits, but more importantly, we can embed them in our daily operations at businesses, even if it's not a conventional green business. And even more importantly, for this conference, investors should also think about integrating circularity into their portfolios. And this also potentially offers portfolio diversification beyond, the thematic, classic thematic sectors. So I hope this presents a holistic use case. If you're interested in finding out more on this topic, please refer to our CIO report on circular economy or reach out to your client advisor. Thank you so much again for your valuable time today with us, Pak Haryanto and Rob, and I hope you enjoyed the session as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.